Good morning. We'll call this January 19th, 2021 meeting of the Sierra County Commission to order. Clerk, would you do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes, I'm here.
Commissioner Day?
Here.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Here.
Also in attendance is County Manager Swingle, County Attorney Pato, and Clerk Trujillo.
Thank you. Commissioner Day, Vice Chair, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico as the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
We have a number of guests in our audience. We are simulcasting this meeting. You can get it primarily on KCHS and another number of other venues. It can be watched after the meeting. Go into YouTube, KCHS Radio, and commission meetings. We've got some guests with us that I'd like to just cover here. We have Jager Guston. Glad that you're here, Jager. Former Commissioner Francis Luna is with us. John Richardson / ranch owner and one of our friends here in the county. Karen Cowan is with us. Over 2 decades, director of New Mexico Cattle Growers Association, now the publisher of the New Mexico Stockman. Karen, we're glad to have you with us today. Vicki Ballinger, the Elephant Butte City Manager, is with us. And State Police Sergeant Jaime Dominguez. Jaime, we're glad you're with us.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. This is Commissioner Hank Hopkins' first formal regular meeting. We want to welcome him. Hank, congratulations on your election. We're proud to have you. You are a long-term county resident and an educator that kids love. That says a lot. So
Well, thank you.
we're glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
And always my right hand, you see, is on my right hand, Vice Chair Day. So, do we have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Day moves to approve the agenda as presented. Second it.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
We are not required by state law to do public comments.
Mr. Chair, we believe we need to approve the minutes from the previous 2 meetings.
Okay.
So Commissioner Day moves to approve the minutes from the regular meeting and the special meeting.
I second it.
Thank you, Vice Chair Day. Moved and seconded. Roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Now we'll go to public comment. I think it's very important that we 3 commissioners and all the past commissions have supported hearing from our citizens. We provide a public forum here. Even with the COVID, we can take written comment. It has to be received by 5 p.m. the day before the meeting. But it's so critical that citizens not only call us or talk to us when they see us on the street, but they also have the opportunity to formalize their comments. We represent Sierra County citizens, but there are 8 elected offices in Sierra County, and all 8 of those offices are chosen by the people to represent them. They work at the will of the people. The Sierra County Commission does not hold sway and dominion over any of those elected officers. They are each authorized by law and statute and commence performing their duties to the best of their abilities, and they work with the Sierra County Commission so that we can provide government at the ground level to y'all. I do have a public comment that was requested to be read into the record, so I'm going to read that. This is from Robin Tuttle of Hillsboro. I was concerned in May when Glenn Hamilton, identified on the attached poster as our sheriff, rallied with Coy Griffin and Cowboys for Trump. While Hamilton has rights as a private citizen, he was identified as the sheriff in support of this rally. This was inappropriate then and is appalling now, given Griffin's part in the January 6th riot. I urge you and the commissioners, if you have not already done so, to advise Hamilton that he is barred from participating in this kind of activity in his official capacity. I would also urge the commission to take an action similar to that of the Grant County Commissioners. In a 4-1 vote Thursday, Grant County Commission adopted a resolution that condemns the votes of Representative Yvette Harrell in Congress objecting to the certification of the electoral votes on the state of Arizona and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Harrell has also failed to denounce incendiary comments Griffin posted to Facebook both before and after last week's riot. Thank you for your consideration of this matter. Robin Tuttle, Hillsborough. On advice of our attorney, we do not respond to any of these public comments. They are noted, they are recorded, and they are written into the record. We just got word this morning that we had a friend of TRC in the county of Sierra that passed away, Hans Townsend. I don't know how long was Han the president of the Chamber of Commerce? Years and years.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chair.
And he had been having some health problems and was in hospice, but we got word that he passed this morning. So I'd like to just have just a moment of silence in respect and regard of Hans Townsend. He'll be missed. Thank you. Is there a motion regarding the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Day moves to approve consent agenda items A through H as presented.
I second it.
Moved and seconded. A roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. We're to presentations and report. I can never remember that your name is Carrie, Guston. If you'll approach the lectern, and if you wish, you can remove your mask. If you don't, just speak loudly and clearly so that we can hear you.
Okay.
Carrie, go ahead.
Good morning, folks. It's a pleasure to be before you. I have a short film report, but first we have a clip of the movie that I'm going to report on that's just been released. So we'll look at that clip now.
Thank you.
My first request was for my son Paul. He's stubborn as a mule.
Why you gotta go and make me feel bad?
Why you gotta eavesdrop?
There ain't nothing I can say to thank y'all enough. How's your mama? The friend of yours, Paul? No. I don't know him. He don't know me.
You two closer to two peas in a pod when you were kids.
Somebody like that started talking to me about my mama, I'd have knocked 2 punch either. It's a long story. I ain't proud of it.
Well, sometimes there's the best sort of stories to tell.
Your mama's been ready to meet her maker half her life. So if she's still hanging on, I'm sure she's got a good reason.
Your old mama deserves to have one man in her life come through for her.
You're nagging me about being a better dad, and she's not. And ain't nothing I can do about it. We all get lost sometimes. The important thing is what we do with our life when we find our way back.
Dear God, my first request was for my son Paul.
Sorry.
All right, very well. I'm Kerry Jagger-Guston. I'm serving as your film liaison to the State Film Office. And I have a short report for you this morning. Retribution Films, that's the company, and the working title of the movie clip you just saw, Paul's Promise. Their shoot dates, they shot from October 25th through November 18th. They had a 25-day shoot plan, but shot actually for 17 days. They hired 6 local residents for background work, and Dean Cain, he was the star, and he's known for parts in Hawaii Five-0 and the CHIPS Highway Patrol series from California. There were 35 people that worked 17 days and were housed locally. I'll just detail some of it. The spa hotel, Pelican Spa, $19,000, rooms rented for 30 days. The Holiday Inn Express Uptown, 30 rooms rented for 14 days, that's $27,300. They had 25 vintage vehicles rented for $50 a day. That's $21,250. Of course, they filled those vehicles up with gas a couple of times. The old St. Anne's Hospital on Austin Street, they had that as a location rented for 10 days. That was $3,000. The burned house location on 7th and Cobra, approximately $4,200. And here's the interesting thing. They spend money, you know, they spend individual money every day, like on cigarettes and coffee and whatnot, batteries. So if there were 35 of them, say they spent $40 a day, 17 days, that's $23,800. And now these figures are pretty low because I didn't get a handle on what kind of lumber and supplies they bought here locally, but they bought a lot of stuff to rebuild that old house to make it look like a real house. So this figure, I think, is a little bit low. An update on the film office, they're continuing to work to attract films to the state. Their work includes scaling up the talent and the crew base. And there's now a free training program for background actors. That's a really, really good way for somebody who's interested in film to get their foot in the door. It helps them make connections. They learn movie set etiquette. You can contact the New Mexico Film Office for more details. There's also now an intimacy coordinator training program. This deals with nudity and intimacy and sexual scenes on sets. It helps keep people safe. And that's available. It starts on February the 7th. It's a 16-week course, online training. You can contact the film office. And those contacts are newmexicofilm.com or by phone, 505-476 or 5600. And in closing, the real change of the film offices, they've canceled the Real Scout website. Now this is Paul's Promise. And sometimes that changes a little bit. You know, they might change that or alter it a little bit, but that's the working title, Paul's Promise. And it details an Arkansas sheriff who's in a bad way and a real traumatic event causes him to try to change and turn his life around and go down a good path. So,
When do you think it'll be released?
you know, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure.
Thank you.
No questions. I just want to thank you for all the work. I know it takes a lot
You're welcome, sir.
to pull everything together for something this big.
You're welcome.
And so thank you for your efforts.
Jagger, you're a wealth of knowledge and history, and you've represented us well. I think I'd join my fellow commissioners saying thank you for your
Thank you.
efforts.
Thank you.
And we hope you continue.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for getting this movie here.
I'll leave you with a little anecdote. You never know what they ask you for. Here several years ago, they said, "Can you get us an armadillo?" And I said, "No, we have rattlesnakes and roadrunners. No armadillos. We can get you one, but it's going to cost you." Thank you very much.
Thank you. Johnny Richardson, come on up, lad.
Commissioners, thank you for allowing us to be here today and present this. Thank you, County Manager and others. We're here to ask the county to support a state meat inspection program. This COVID has really peeled back the layers of how fragile our meat delivery system is. We ship a lot of meat, beef, pork, and others to Texas, other states that have the capacity to produce this or to butcher it, and then it comes back to us in that fashion. We believe the state meat inspection, it's a jobs creator, and it also would like to keep that program here. We send millions of dollars of meat out to other states to be processed. Not only a jobs creator, but I think it would help producers. What I'm really asking is to help producers in Sierra County and Socorro County. If we can process that meat here in the state, I think we'd all be better off. The producers don't get much back for what their hard work, and seems like the four big packers reap most of the reward for that. And Karen Cowan is with me here today. She's also Executive Director of Protect Americans Now, which is a 501c3 organization. And I don't know, Karen, do you have anything to add to that, or if that's okay, if I
You
could
bet.
ask her?
Go right ahead.
She's got 23 years in the business, so caterpillars, far more experience than I do. So.
I just wanted to let you know that there's been 2 bills already introduced in the legislature to do this. We're going to work to get them to be one bill so that we can all get together and support something. 99%, and it's on the sheets I passed out to you, 99% of the beef cattle in New Mexico are shipped out of state for processing, and then we pay extra to get them back. So this is just a step forward to make ourselves more self-sufficient as ranchers, as communities. So, and we'll stand for questions.
Questions?
Yes, just one question, thank you, Mr. Chair. The state used to have in-state certification process, correct? When was that redone?
We
Or
did.
when was that nixed?
I believe it was in 2007 under Governor Richardson's administration. When the HACCP programs came in, which I don't even know what HACCP stands for, but it's how they grade meat inspection and that sort of thing. When those programs came in, we had difficulty in getting on, to learn. The learning curve was huge. So FSIS put out a report, which is circulating now in 2007, that was not complimentary. And it was going to take quite a bit of money to bring us up to speed for what FSIS wanted. And at that point in time, the state coffers were down, and the governor's choice was to shut the program down rather than to spend the money to keep it, to bring it up to speed.
Thank you. And one more question on this. So if we have a resolution on the agenda today to pass support of it, and I know the New Mexico Ag Group is really focused in on this legislation to approve the state certification process. So if we were to approve this today, who would we send that a copy of that resolution to get it to the Ag Group?
You could copy it to Protect Americans Now, to John or I, and we'll be sure that it gets there. The groups that are supporting this are the New Mexico Farm and Livestock Bureau, the New Mexico Cattle Growers, Coalition of Counties passed a resolution last week, Protect Americans Now, Grant County Cattle Growers, all have resolutions in place to support this.
Thank you. That's all I had.
I'd just like to comment, I'm excited about this for the beef producers and the pork producers. I mean, anytime you get ready to sell meat with our 2 local plants that are here now, they're not USDA certified. So this would be huge for Sierra County, I think.
And
Well, go ahead.
Oh, if I may, I think we really seen the need for it during COVID, because as we all knew, beef prices and pork prices went way up in the grocery stores, but it wasn't trickling down to the producer. Producers were getting significantly less money when they take it to auction, but yet we were paying higher prices for hamburger and steaks.
Exactly.
And so I think it's always been an issue. I think just COVID really highlighted the need for it. I mean, again, I think if it was to pass in the state, it would empower smaller plants like the 2 we have to look at getting certified. So I think this is great, and it's discussions I've been involved in with, Farm Bureau cattle growers, and so I'm excited to see this legislation hopefully pass.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, we reached the point in Albuquerque that meat was being rationed, both at Costco and Sam's and at our local grocery stores. You could only buy a limited amount of meat and a limited amount of cheese. And that's a pretty scary thing when you think about it.
It is. Part of our drive for economic development is to get a little larger operation in Sierra County to process beef and pork. And we're hoping that will come to fruition. But in order to do that, we've got to have a meat inspector. So I think that when we get to resolutions, this will be received favorably. I think it's key that our locals, like John Richardson, who is a producer, and Commissioner Hopkins, that's also a producer, and Commissioner Day's dad still is producing pork. So we need to provide all the economic incentive and see that our producers get a wholesome return on their efforts, because they're really on the short end of the stick, and if we could process beef and pork locally, that would be great. So, Johnny, thank you for coming this morning.
Thank you.
And thank you for bringing Karen. Karen, it's good to see you. Glad you made the trip. I like your mask.
Thank you.
Attorney Pato.
Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for giving me a moment here. I know we have a very heavy agenda here today, and I appreciate you giving me a moment to recognize Commissioner Luna and her service to the County Commission. I'd ordered a little plaque for her back in November, but because of COVID, everything got delayed, and I wasn't able to present that to her at the last County Commission meeting that she presided at or that she served on. But I do appreciate the opportunity to do so here today. Like I said, I just want to take a moment to thank Commissioner Luna for her service and commitment to the residents and constituents in Sierra County. She's done just an amazing job. She's taken on the federal government. First, as it related to protecting our local business owners, who were injured by the Wolf Recovery Program, opposing the wild and scenic designation for the designation of our local rivers as wild and scenic rivers. There have been efforts she's taken to improve the day-to-day lives of our county constituents and employees, which included the development and implementation of the CARES grant and the dissemination of that money to our local businesses, the identification and development of our new administration building, the service to work on the hospital expansion to provide increased access to medical care in the community, economic development projects like Spin Launch and AeroVironment, which we just entered into an agreement with. Policy positions here, opposing the Civil Rights Commission's recommendations, which would harm our local law enforcement and our county budgets, supporting copper flat mines, supporting the creation of the special hospital district, to give a better function and operation to our hospitals, and also just the day-to-day lives of our employees, like a new personnel policy, animal control ordinances, and all of that. During her tenure, she's had to make some very difficult decisions. Among probably the most difficult of which had to be the closing of our detention center and the jobs that went with that. But it was critical, and it was very difficult in light of the harms that we're suffering at the county level and the slew of claims that followed the closure and that preceded the closure. She's just a dedicated member of our community, serving on the hospital board and the county fair board and the spaceport district and so many more. I probably couldn't even begin to figure it out. But most of all, I've just had the privilege and honor to watch her grow and blossom, and she's just a passionate, wonderful individual, and consider her a forever friend. And with that, I'd like to present her with this little plaque that I want to drop it. I have better fingers more than anything. So it's Francis Luna, Commissioner, in appreciation of your dedicated service in the Board of County Commissioners, 2013 to 2020.
You will be my forever friend. And you thought I was just here for you.
Yeah. Congratulations, Francis.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. County Manager Swingle, we're to you on reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Tough act to follow there, Dave.
Hardly. I am so bad at that stuff.
You did a good job.
Thank you.
Due to the size of the agenda we have today, I'll be brief, but just want to update you on a few things. Smithco has completed the site utilities at the new building, and they're starting the plumbing and the ceiling and roof penetrations phase of the project. Right after that, they'll get into framing of walls in the building, so that's progressing quite well. Staff has served on the Array Elementary and High School Community Schools Council, and I have to tell you that the level of commitment and professionalism demonstrated by the district staff, it's extremely impressive. Running a school is difficult at any time. However, during COVID, it's just amazingly difficult. And the staff is working very hard, tying in social services and all kinds of services to assist the kids and ensure that the kids, are attending school and are succeeding in education. The number of contacts the schools are making with students and parents, it's in the thousands per month. It's just amazing the work that they're doing, and I wish everybody in the community could see the efforts that the school is making to ensure success. We had an opportunity to meet with our legislative delegation and review the ICIP, our projects that we're submitting for capital outlay funding request. At the delegation's request, we revised some of our priorities, phased them into 1 and 2 and 3 year projects, and they all have a copy of the most current version of what our requests are. Sierra Vista Joint Powers Commission, they meet on the 21st, and the governing board has a meeting on the 28th. We have our final costs for the flood damage that was caused in our serious flood we had at the fairgrounds and the Albert Lion, and the damages were a little over $430,000. Wow. Our portion, our contribution for that was a $2,500 deductible. I think this is absolutely important to praise the New Mexico counties and the insurance authority for their work, and the company that they hired, basically a nationally or internationally recognized company, to go in and mitigate the damages that we experienced at the time. Staff is now exploring kind of a local community health initiative in Sierra County. Right now, we're exploring all of the options that are out there, and it's recommended, in a conversation I had with the Department of Health, that we hire a consultant to help us in the beginning phases of that. I'll probably present that to the commission at the next meeting in February. The assessor's office, they're busy out in the field catching up on building permits, sales, and rechecks for the closeout. Personal property statements, livestock statements were distributed in December, and they're starting to float into the assessor's office now. Staff's very busy working and on track with their notice of valuation distributions, and they're on track for the April deadline. Emergency management, thus far, emergency management has provided over 186,000 pieces of personal protective equipment to area healthcare facilities, the hospital, and local governments. Facilities management, they're doing tremendous work in keeping our buildings clean and decontaminated, going several times a day and decontaminating buildings, as well as their normal jobs of routine maintenance and custodial services. And they're dealing with a small water leak at the Albert Line right now. Flood approved 10 building permits, 2 in Tier C, 3 in Elephant Butte, and 5 in the county. Issued 2 floodplain permits in the county, and that's in San Miguel and Chloride area. Conducted 8 floodplain determinations for realtors, and accomplished or engaged in levee repairs at Tierra Blanca, Montoya, and Trujillo. They're now complete, and he's moving to Adams Creek area. Electronic monitoring and misdemeanor compliance. They had 175 pretrial compliance clients, 21 electronic monitoring, 38 in misdemeanor compliance, 52 in DWI compliance, 1 in prosecution diversion. They have a total of 266 clients that they're dealing with for the last month. Road Department, I think most importantly, they're closing out their current projects, and they're gearing up for the next year's projects, or actually this year's projects, and they're doing the planning and strategizing for the proposals that they'll be submitting for next year's projects. SCRTA, they've got a board meeting on the 20th, 10 a.m. And Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I've included the detention report and the treasurer's report. They wrote individual reports for your review. I think it's important that we also talk about, we need to get this in the minutes, the Restrictive Housing Act and the requirements for the last quarter of 2020, the county had one individual that was in restrictive housing, and he was in there due to COVID protocols. And the individual had COVID, and there was some conditions placed on that individual. I'll stand for any questions the commission may have.
Questions, commissioners?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That recidivism rate on the last page of the detention at 64%, has that been that high recently?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, our recidivism rate prior to initiating the behavioral health programs was approximately 95%. So it is considerable improvement. I think early on we saw much more positive numbers. However, we've had to curtail a lot of the behavioral health programs because of COVID and the lack of the inability to meet with the clients.
Okay. Well, I hope that keeps trending down.
Yes.
Sheriff Hamilton, did you wish to provide any report to the commission?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'll be brief, given the lengthy agenda that you have today. We submit our annual report to the Department of Public Safety on our crime statistics. And we were contacted around the end of November and asked to please give some clarification on some of our stats that we reported. Specifically under our homicide rates, we had a 100% decrease in our homicide rate here in Sierra County. The reason that this is significant because we normally average one homicide a year in Sierra County, and we had no homicides this last year. So thus the 100% decrease. Sometimes they only look at the percentages as opposed to the actual numbers that we're reporting. And compared to Albuquerque, I think we're doing outstanding down here. But I will highlight a couple of the numbers that drew some attention too. Under our sexual offenses, our forcible rapes, criminal sexual contacts, actually had a decrease of 57% from 7 to 3 incidents. I'm extremely proud of our burglary results. Had a 25% decrease from 12 in 2019, only down to 9. We have recently promoted one of the deputies into the investigative slot. So we're able to bring our investigative division back up again. They were successful just this past week in a drug trafficking operation where we netted a substantial amount of methamphetamine and some weapons in possession of a local felon. So we continue to serve the community and continue to keep our nose to the grindstone out there and making this community the one that everybody in New Mexico needs to be here. We were rated just a few years ago as one of the 4th safest communities in the state. So again, I have an extremely dedicated staff. They're a group of young professionals and continue to work on bolstering their training and their ability levels up every year. We're currently 2 positions down. We hope to have those 2 filled by the end of the month. We have one that's going to start the academy on the 25th, so we're moving forward there. As you know, legislative session starts at noon today. I still serve in the capacity of legislative liaison for the New Mexico Sheriff's Association. I also chair the Public Safety and Courts Committee with New Mexico County. So this next 60 days, if you're not able to get a hold of me or I'm not answering the phone immediately, I'm probably in a virtual hearing or something with our lawmakers. We're still trying to navigate and determine how we're going to navigate this session with it being all virtual. But if there are, I still represent Sierra County also on the Board of Directors with New Mexico Counties. As a matter of fact, at 2 o'clock today, we have a Board of Directors meeting to discuss some of the legislative issues. Early and preliminary indication seems like it's going to be an all-out assault on public safety this year. We've actually got one of the lawmakers who's indicated he's going to be dropping a bill to decriminalize all illegal substances like heroin, methamphetamine. They recently did this with marijuana. We expect that marijuana recreational use will likely get the pass this year, but unfortunately, we got about 3 different bills or 3 different drafts that we're looking at. We don't know which one's going to be dropped, so we'll be paying special attention to many of these public safety type bills that are coming in and making sure that our opposition is heard whenever we can. So I'll stand for any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Questions?
I have none.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Sergeant Dominguez, did you wish to address the commission?
Just introduce myself. Sure.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, my name is Jaime Dominguez. I'm recently promoted sergeant here for Interior C. My tenure on state police has been 12 years. My first duty station has been in Socorro. So I know a little bit about small towns. I'm originally from Anthony, New Mexico, but I currently live in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I'm the new duty sergeant, also with Armando Reyes. So if you have any questions, concerns of the citizens, please direct those concerns to me. I'll stand for any questions.
I just have a comment. I bet no one messes with you.
I was thinking the same thing.
Man, you're tall.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Sergeant. Glad to have you
Nickname
with
is
us.
Tiny.
Yeah.
He had to duck his head getting in the door.
Yep. Our next agenda item is the Board of Finance, Manager Swingle.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the only thing you have on the Board of Finance is the treasurer submitted their recap and reconciliation report for the month.
Commissioner Hopkins moves to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion is approved. We have no old business,
That is correct, sir.
so we'll move to new business. The Volunteer Fire Retirement Annual Reporting Form. Mr. Manager.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is an annual requirement. The volunteers have to submit their forms for PEA retirement for the volunteers. It's nothing more than a stipend that they receive. However, it is something, an incentive for the volunteers. It's a requirement that the commissioners actually approve the forms as they're completed by each department. You'll probably see this for the next month or two as the departments start submitting their forms in. Today you have forms from Las Palomas and from the Array Fire Department.
But the others will be forthcoming. We got, what, eight,
Yes,
seven, 6 total, more to come? Okay. Is there a motion to approve? Can we do both of them together, Las Palomas and Array?
Yes,
Yeah, we can go as well. Commissioner Day moves to approve the submitted volunteer fire PERA annual reporting forms.
Second it.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. Transfer of Fire Administration Command Vehicle to Las Palomas Fire Department. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. What you have before you is a request to transfer the emergency management vehicle to Las Palomas so they can use it for their extrication vehicle. The vehicle they have now is 20-some years old and in dire need of a replacement. The timing is perfect because Paul's interested in purchasing a new fire suppression system that does not fit in his vehicle. The State Fire Marshal's Office has been reviewing this and recommended that he go to an F-250 instead of a 150 to cover the load. I believe Paul has a brief presentation that he would like to. Paul, are you going to show the video now?
Yes.
Okay, this is the fire suppression system that he would like to have installed in the vehicle, and those requests are further on the agenda.
Apartment number 7 is on fire. We have reports of multiple people trapped on the second floor.
Car 1, 3 blocks out, smoke throwing. Deputy rolling up on scene says this is active fire. Message received. Car 1, come forward, deploy the ultra high pressure system.
I think everyone needs to see HMA ultra-high pressure systems in action. I think it would make a believer out of anyone.
Is it changing? Is it different than the traditional attack? Are people standoffish about that? Yeah. Was I at first? Absolutely.
You know, I understand the skepticism behind it because it's different when the tradition in fire service has been to use a lot more water.
Once I understood the science, I understood why the fires were going out. We weren't just getting lucky.
Once you start to understand the science of it and you see how it actually works, fire after fire after fire, it becomes hard to debate it anymore.
People get it. They say, why don't all fire departments do this?
The science of ultra-high pressure is all about surface area. Ultra-high pressures allow that water droplet to be thrown at such a velocity, creating smaller water droplets, which creates more surface area.
Taking one large droplet and dividing it into 1,000 small droplets, we could create 10 times the surface area. Look at that then in terms of the amount of energy that it can absorb, it can do it a lot faster.
Ultra-high pressure is definitely not high pressure, which is definitely not conventional. But all three work on the same principle of applying surface area.
The laws of physics are not debatable at this point, right? So we sort of have to trust that, well, the science behind it is sound. Nevertheless, people test things theoretically in laboratories, and then the next question is always, okay, but how does it work in the real world? From a science perspective, it makes sense, and I guess in practical application, I've seen it make sense.
We're not trying to say that an ultra-high pressure hand line is a replacement of a conventional hand line. It's not going to do away with what we already do, but it adds a lot of firepower to what we do.
As long as we're aware of the limitations and advantages of each, they should be a good complement to each other. It doesn't need to be one to the exclusiveness of the other.
We compare the two simply because that's what people are used to.
First of all, it can be done quickly, which is an advantage. When you can get water on the fire more quickly, that's an advantage, a big advantage.
I've seen the HMA system extinguish fires that using conventional means of extinguishment would have allowed the fire to grow to a much further extent. We were able to extinguish it much quicker. Not only can we get out the door faster, we get on the scene quicker, we can deploy the hand line quicker, we can deploy the water faster. When you're looking at time as a commodity, it's priceless when it comes down to the time saved on a fire scene.
The vehicle is fully engulfed.
The knockdown capability is staggering when you compare the two side by side.
We're able to flow 30 gallons per minute in comparison to 150 gallons per minute and collect at least the same amount of heat energy.
You're going to use less water, you're obviously going to have less water damage, and we don't end up with water laying on the floor. It's not uncommon for us to have insurance agents approach us and say, where's all the water? We attribute that directly to the ultra-high pressure system.
We can use the ultra-high pressure to blow through walls, through ceilings. If we have a fire in an attic, we can simply work our way through the sheetrock with the ultra-high pressure to attack the fire.
It is. Hate to get in the way.
Long driveways, remote areas, snow-covered roads, you can get through all of that with this system where an engine is going to struggle.
It doesn't tax you the way that a conventional hand line does.
I can get it where I want to go faster.
If we're trying to get there and get it done quickly, HMA is clearly the winner.
Utilizing 1/5 of the water flow, collecting the same amount of heat energy with a greater speed of attack, better application capabilities, safer on the firefighters. I think it's clear why it's become our tool of choice. So our ultra-high pressure hand lines are generally 3/4 inch, flowing anywhere between 20 and 30 gallons per minute through a conventional nozzle that is just engineered to withstand ultra-high pressures.
Our heavy rescue has multiple lines. We have ATVs. Having the HMA line on a rapid response vehicle affords us the opportunity to get the vehicle where the fire is.
you can get at fires and an engine can't.
We'll drive the truck to the back of the structure if the fire's at the back of the structure.
If you're gonna be first due in, we do a call 1, along with fire 1 at fire 5, fire attack on ultra high pressure system.
During this time, our other vehicles, whether it's an engine, a ladder, a squad, are also on their way, just like they would be even if we didn't have this rapid response vehicle.
You can get there so much faster, and a lot of times knock the fire out well before the engine even gets there.
Fire from next phase is locked down with the ultra high pressure system, continuing to all units.
We use the HMA line and the conventional line on all our fire attacks. Used together, they form a very efficient team. The conventional line is an excellent way to back up the HMA line. We had a fire with 4 rooms on the second floor of an old farmhouse.
With that flame showing through the roof.
The report from the exterior was fire blowing out second-story windows, about 3/4 of the way up the stairs. Started the fire attack. We had a ultra-high pressure HMA line blowing 30 gallons per minute.
When I got to the top of that stairwell and saw the amount of fire we were dealing with, I mean, it was intense.
A few moments into the fire attack, we had this thing.
Once we got into the hallway, it was quickly game over.
Bringing that fire under control, we only flowed 140 gallons of water.
It becomes hard to debate it anymore.
I think before anybody should say it doesn't work, they need to try it and actually see what it's capable of doing, and I think they will be surprised.
You can see technology is really, this is very recent technology. There's no system like it in New Mexico at this time. So Paul is wanting to install this device, this equipment in a new vehicle that'll handle the water and the equipment itself.
Question for Chief Tooley. Did they say they're also using foam with this ultra-high pressure?
Yes, and I won't put the camera on myself because I'll break it. Yes, sir. There's this particular unit flows 20 gallons a minute at 1,500 psi, 150 gallons of water with 6 gallons of foam. And it's also got an inductor for, believe it or not, a garden hose connection, so you could technically get water directly from the normal tap, and allows you to induct 6 gallons of foam as well.
Well, it's a great innovation. I have seen the old Suburban that Las Palomas uses. That's a charitable word. It's pretty well worn and used up. So, you know, we had considerable discussion in getting you a fire command vehicle because we thought it was the appropriate thing for you to be representing county emergency services. I know that the little fire districts' budgets are stretched, and that is Las Palomas our only extrication?
They are extrication for the county.
Yes.
Elephant Butte does run extrication for Elephant Butte as well, but they do it throughout the entire county. We did get a letter from the State Fire Marshal's office allowing us to move that asset paid for with state fire funds to Las Palomas as well.
Okay. Thank you. Questions, Commissioners?
Just curiosity, Paul. In your opinion, what would something like that, how effective would it be in like a hay fire, say down like at the dairy?
Well, depending on the size of the fire,
Right.
a lot of this is rapid response. So if you can get there quickly, you've got technically 150 gallons of water. Technically, you've got 10 times that amount as far as heat absorption. So do you have 1,000 gallons of water going there? Possibly if you use it right. So I think getting there quickly with that as the initial attack, you're going to be able to possibly even contain the fire.
Right.
Just depending on how big it is by the time you get there.
Right.
You know, if you need the big water, it's coming, you're going to need it. But this is just another tool. It's a quick access tool to allow you to get there quickly and try to knock the fire down, or at least get it under control until the big trucks get there.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I had.
No, I don't have any.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank
Chief Tooley. Is there a motion on the transfer of the Fire Administration Command Vehicle to Las Palomas Fire Department?
Commissioner Day moves to approve the transfer of the vehicle.
Second it.
Moved and seconded, roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. Road Director request for salary increase, Manager Swingle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. What you have before you is a request from our Road Director, Billy Neely. Billy's been with us just over a year now as Road Director. He brought something to our attention that we really didn't know. One of his subordinate supervisors is making about $8,000, a little over $8,000 more than he is in salary. We're trying to deal with this salary compression issue. And still maintain the integrity of the pay plan that we have in place. It's staff's recommendation that Billy receive a $9,859.60 raise, which will move his salary to $54,849.60, or $26.37 an hour. Realizing the county is kind of looked at pay raises on an individual basis, based on one factor, that the departments have the funding in their budget. The department does have the funding in the budget. They move the monies that they received in reimbursement that they received from the flood damage, which was a little over $24,000, I believe, that went to the road department. So they do have the funding in the budget, and this will address the salary compression issue with the road director and his supervisors.
Mr. Chairman, before the board discusses this item any further, I just wanted to identify that this is one of the items that the Open Meetings Act allows you to discuss in executive session. It does not require it. So if the board weren't so inclined, it could request the item be moved to executive session for further discussion, or the board can discuss it further here.
Thank you, Attorney Pato.
Sure thing.
That's good to know. Is there a need to go to executive session?
Mr. Chair, I personally don't see one.
I don't either, so we'll continue. One of the reasons we have Manager Swingle in his position and Christie in Human Resources is this is a delicate subject. We've been through this a couple of times in the last year through our salary studies and so increases for our employees. We want every single employee to know how valuable they are to us and to the citizens of Sierra County. But I do think that we need to take an examination of specific instances with special circumstances and address those. And so I feel like this is a legitimate request, and if there's a motion, I'll entertain it.
Mr. Chair, before that, I just want to say, to stay consistent, I want to be clear that this is a net neutral in the budget.
Yes.
So it's not a matter of we're adding more expenditures to the road department budget.
Agreed.
It's with the money that Billy saved us, both from the flood and then switching over where we're getting our fuel, the savings covers the cost plus some. And certainly Billy has done a phenomenal job. I've received many more phone calls of the good work that he's doing versus the stuff that needs to be fixed. And the biggest thing for me that speaks volumes is when I get a phone call, it's usually, well, we called Billy, we said we had a complaint. He actually went himself out and looked at it, which to me goes a long way, and then it's usually fixed. So again, with Billy doing such a good job, and then again, that net neutral on the budget to stay consistent as a commission, I'll move to approve the.
I've got a few questions too. First of all, I do think Billy's entitled to this. My question to the county is it time we look at our salary schedules so this doesn't happen again? And my second question is this happening in any other department? And if so, is that department's budget going to be able to compensate such a significant pay raise?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Commissioner Hopkins, we know of no other salary compression issues in any other department. Had we recognized this, we would have brought Billy in at a much higher rate.
Sure.
Probably at this rate that we're talking about today. We just did not recognize it. We had a new road director with limited experience. We had a supervisor that has a number of years, it just didn't register that we needed to check that salary. The pay plan is only about 2.5 years old, but there have been changes that the commission has made over the last 12 months that would constitute us to get an additional pay plan in the very near future.
Okay, thank you.
And we did a pay plan study with a outside consultant that went through all of the same class counties in the state, what they were paying, and looked at our individuals and what they were receiving. So we got on a track, and I think we made major strides in dealing with some issues and providing a plan forward for some regular increases. So prior to you getting here, Mr. Hopkins.
Thank you. Commissioner Hopkins moves to approve the road director request for salary increase.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. A letter of support for Juliette Sullivan at the Veterans Center. Manager Swingle?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, after the special meeting the Commission had last week, it was presented to you, to the Commission, that you entertain the idea of a letter of support for Juliette Sullivan and her service that she provided at the State Veterans Home. So the letter is here for your consideration.
Any questions or comments?
I'd like to make a comment. I've known Juliette for quite some time. I think she's a professional. I think she does what she needs to be doing. I think she thinks of everyone at the home as her family. I would like for my name to be added to this letter as well, because I wholeheartedly support Juliette Sullivan.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we can add all three Commissioners' signature lines on the letter if you would like.
That would be
I
appropriate.
think that'd be good.
Okay.
With that change, is there a motion?
Commissioner Day moves to approve the letter of support.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
Contracts, agreements, and procurement. Manager Swingle and Jocelyn.
I don't have the Homeland Security one. I think you can handle that.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the first item you have before you is the 2020 State Homeland Security Grant Program. It's a $30,000 grant application for equipment for the Sheriff's Office.
Sheriff Hamilton, do you have any comments regarding this grant?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I didn't have an agenda, so I didn't know this was coming up. This is the Stone Garden?
Shishkat.
Shishkat. Okay.
30,000.
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this was, we had put originally in a grant request under the Shishkat in order to help upgrade some of our communication issues. We've got, all of our mobile radios are well over 20 years old, 15 to 20 years old. We recently, about 5 years ago, replaced some of our handhelds, but sooner or later, our whole infrastructure is going to have to be replaced. We're going to have to start looking at repeaters. So this is kind of the baseline or bottom line where we need to start with what we are awarded with this SHISH-GAP. And we believe that SHISH-GAP is probably the way to go about upgrading this system and getting us the funds necessary in order to get this necessary equipment purchased.
Those out there don't know what SHISH-GAP is. It's State Homeland Security Grant Program, and that's just to assist local law enforcement. Any questions, Commissioners?
No.
Is there?
Move to approve the Shishka Homeland Security Grant.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion is approved. State Price Agreement Parts 1 and 2 with Don Chalmers on Fire Administration. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. What you have before you is a request to purchase a vehicle. This is the vehicle for emergency services. It's an F-250. It will house, if the commission approves that request a little later in the agenda, the fire suppression system that you watched the video on. The cost of the vehicle is $44,000 $947.73. This funding will come from Fire Administration. It's not general fund dollars.
Good morning, Commissioners. Welcome, Mr. Hopkins.
Thank you.
So I put it as part 1 and 2 because the way you purchase the vehicle off a state price agreement and then you have to go get the accessories through MHQ. So it's a 2-part process. So I kind of tried to put that in my letter to you guys. I hope you understood. And it is an upgrade for the fire suppression system, that's second, or the third part of this whole process.
I don't see a winch on this vehicle. Is one needed? Chief Tooley?
Yeah, I believe I've got to go back and check with the Don Chalmers, but we did have that added. I took all the options that were on the current truck, make sure they were on the other truck. I'll double check that to make sure it is on there.
Well, I was looking on the quote from Chalmers and on the MHQ, and I don't see a winch on there. It sure would be handy if
Yeah, I'll make sure.
one is needed and it's not there. It's a little difficult, so
I'll make
we
sure
should revise that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, then that could be added without it coming back to the commission, correct?
Right. If
Okay.
you approve it, all the changes can be
Okay.
modified appropriately.
Is there a motion?
Well, Mr. Chair, since we stole his last vehicle, move to approve the state price agreements part 1 and 2 for Paul's vehicle.
I second.
With the addition of a winch?
With the addition of the winch.
Okay. Motion and seconded. Roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Sole source posting on 411 equipment.
So this is the one I call part 3.
Yep.
Because the truck's going to be ordered and the accessories will be put in, and then I posted this as a 30-day sole source, which I believe expires on the 2nd of next month. But I don't see an issue with it being protested because I had a smaller one prior to this increase in size and there was no protest. So I just want to get it approved to move forward when that expiration date hits, and we could just keep it all together.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Jocelyn's referring to, this is a sole source, there's one company that makes this product out there.
Yeah.
She has posting requirements, posting it on our website, Attorney General has to review it. Lots of folks look at it when you post sole source information. So I'm not concerned about this being a sole source at all, because we know of no other company out there.
Right. It's just a legality.
The cost of this equipment is $42,634.
You can't buy an engine for that.
That's another truck.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hopkins moves to approve the sole source posting.
Second.
Moved and seconded. A roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
State price agreement with B&H Fuel for the road department.
Well, historically, B&H had not been on state price agreement. So just to recap, when we had B&H all those years in the past, it was an audit finding because we were consistent with that one company. So when I did a bid, it didn't work out the way I'd hoped it would. But the fuel cards that we have now with WEX kind of stops the limitation of going to one place. They can use them everywhere. But with the road department, they were using more diesel fuel for their vehicles and equipment that they have. So what we decided to do, just to get it going, we put a purchase order in place for where Bruce has the authority, but they were requesting $35,000. And then I need your approval to increase it to that cost. And it's only for this fiscal year because it's going to expire. So if B&H isn't back on state price agreement by next fiscal year, we're going to have to look at another method. But for now, this is where we're at.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the road department is projecting about a $15,000 to $20,000 savings the remainder of this fiscal year. So it's 6 months. It is a meaningful move of moving to B&H. As Jocelyn mentioned, we were with B&H Oil. We were all getting our fuel there at one time. However, we did not have a contract in place. It's just something we were always doing. The auditors noted that, and Jocelyn went out with procurement and changed our process.
It was all before my time, for the record.
This is for both road tax diesel and for red off-road diesel, is it not?
Right.
Yep.
So, Mr. Chair, just one question. So if they are in the state price agreement next year, can we look at getting all our fuel at B&H?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Commissioner Day, what we'll do is end up doing another procurement and give them an opportunity to bid on it. That's their other option. Last time, Jocelyn said it didn't work out the way she wanted it. They didn't submit a proposal.
They didn't.
Unfortunately. So now they're aware of the impact that it has on them as well as on us. So hopefully we'll have another, hopefully they'll stay on.
Perfect.
On
And
state
when's the
contract.
state price
If they don't,
agreement?
we'll do another procurement.
Perfect.
And that would allow other businesses to submit a
bid.
A bid,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, very good.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Day moves to approve the state price agreement with B&H Fuel.
I second.
Moved and seconded. A roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Project participation agreement between Sierra County and Spin Launch. Manager Swingle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. It's a real honor to present the project participation agreement between Spin Launch and Sierra County. This agreement basically allows the state to give Spin Launch up to $4 million, depending on the number of jobs they create over the next 10 years. Spin Launch is building their suborbital launch system, and the objective of this agreement is to create and support an economic development project that fosters and promotes and enhances the local economy. I think most of you have been out to see Spin Launch and the Spaceport America. This is quite a flagship to have in our community, and they're going to do nothing but attract more companies like Spin Launch. They're an exceptional company. It's a fairly new company in terms of tenure, but what a novel concept they have out there, just amazing. And the county has always taken the position to support economic development projects that were for the betterment of this community. So, having said that, it's staff's recommendation that the commission approve the PPA.
I appreciate the agreement. It was noteworthy to read that they're going to increase with this $4 million an additional 59 full-time employees for a total of 107 just in Spin Launch. That's significant.
Yes, it is.
And that's moving in a great direction. My feeble brain still doesn't understand how you can spin something and undo a tether and it goes into space, but it's marvelous. It's absolutely Buzz Sawyer kind of stuff.
Mr. Chair, if I may, in speaking with representatives from Spin Launch, and I basically asked them to explain it to me in layman's term, and it was almost quote for what you just said. So spin it really fast, let it go, and that's basically it.
And it goes to 100 miles up.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Pretty amazing.
No, and Mr. If I may continue on that, I think Bruce said it very well. This is a game changer for Sierra County. It's a game changer for Spaceport America. And I think, as a commission, we've been very supportive of all the efforts out at Spaceport. And we need to continue to help with the development of Spaceport, because the development of Spaceport means increased development in Sierra County. So Commissioner Day moves to approve the participation agreement.
A second.
Moved and seconded. A roll call, Shelley.
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. Before we move on, Manager Swingle, do we know how many tenants we have at Spaceport now? Do you have any idea?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, so last time I looked, there was 6 or 7 that are there.
Yeah.
That I know of, AeroVironment and Spin Launch have physical, infrastructure out there.
Yeah.
That they're building as we speak.
Yeah. Well, so many people think it's just Virgin Galactic. And I think that we want to make sure that our citizens know that there are a lot of people that are coming to Sierra County because of the unrestricted airspace and the blue skies and the wide open landscape. And the economic development is to continue to bring aerospace industry to Sierra County. So this is just another step in that, in a positive direction.
And then, Mr. Chair, if I could just add to that real quick, it's so much more than just those companies there. I mean, there's been events out at Spaceport that I've attended, and in talking with the, event goers, they visit Spaceport, they fall in love with it, they come in our community, they stay in our hotels, they eat in our restaurants, shop in our stores, and so Spaceport has been a phenomenal thing for Sierra County, and I think the public needs to know there's, again, so much more going out there. We may not see it, I think, because the headlines are, the one company, but there's so much more going out there, and we're seeing the benefits from it.
I agree. Okay, we're to Spin Launch intergovernmental agreement between New Mexico Economic Development Department and Sierra County. Manager Swingle.
Mr. Chair, forgive me, did you approve the PPA?
Yes.
We did.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. What you have before you is the intergovernmental agreement between the State Economic Development Office and Sierra County. This is to allow us to serve as fiscal agent of the $4 million. The way the process will work is Spin Launch will expense the money and submit documentation to the county. We will submit that information to the state agrees to it, then we'll go ahead and reimburse Spin Launch for the expenditures. It's pretty much in 4 phases that the payments will be received.
Questions or comments, Commissioners?
I have none. Commissioner Day moves to approve the agreement between the New Mexico Economic Development and Sierra County.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item G is agreement between County of Sierra, City of Elephant Butte regarding administration and enforcement of the city's floodplain management regulations. Manager Swingle and Elephant Butte City Manager Vicki, you want to come to the podium?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an agreement that has been worked on for a considerable amount of time. The flood director has submitted it to the county for commission approval. Vicki?
Thank you, Commissioners. It's been 20 years since I spoke to the body of the Sierra County Commission. Things have changed a lot in 20 years, a lot.
Welcome back.
Thank you. So in my first year here as city manager, I have spent a lot of time with Travis Atwell working on drainage issues in the city of Elephant Butte. We've looked at Balboa Pond detention system, retention pond system, a couple of times. Actually got some rain coming in tomorrow night that I'm a little bit concerned about, but I'm happy for.
We hope.
Snowfall up north is going to be, hopefully bring some water to the lake. We've also looked at drainage and erosion issues in a 1970s era development, Mescal Loop in Elephant Butte, that has some problems with getting water through the neighborhood. And as you know, he also sits on my city council. So we have worked a lot together. He knows that I will join him out in the field, and I have for both of these things. I don't mind stomping around out in the dirt and looking at things up close. So I do ask you that, and that the city council asks you to renew the agreement for the floodplain director that serves the city of Elephant Butte. Any questions?
I have a question, and I'm not sure if it's directed to you or the chair. This was on this was tabled from a previous December 15th meeting, correct?
Right.
And my question was, what's changed?
Nothing except that I wasn't here then.
Oh. So that's why they tabled it.
Yes.
Just wanting to know. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I know you're going to ask. The fee is $25 per permit review.
Right.
And the flood director is in support of this agreement.
And he is here. Director Atwell, do you have anything to add to the discussion?
No comments.
Meets your needs, and the $25 covers your review, so we're good there.
Good with it.
Okay? Thank you for being here, Vicki. It's been too long since you've been before the commission, so
I enjoyed this meeting very much.
good,
Good, lots of things to learn.
good. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hopkins approves, or
Moves to approve.
move to approve. Thank you. I lost my train of thought for a second. The agreement between the County of Sierra and the City of Elephant Butte regarding the administrative enforcement of the city's floodplain management regulations.
Second.
Moved and seconded. A roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. We can begin review, although I think you've already been doing some, have you not?
Tons.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sunzia Southwest Transmission Project Memorandum of Understanding, that's with the BLM, is it not, Manager Swingle?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, yes, it is. It's the MOU between the BLM and Sierra County to serve as a cooperating agency for the Sunzia Southwest Transmission Project. They've given us this opportunity to serve as a cooperating agency. If the commission entertains the idea and approves the MOU, then we need to identify, you also need to identify 2 individuals that will basically have the authority to represent Sierra County.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I might.
Go ahead.
So
Attorney Pato.
we also need to make an addition, if the board is inclined to approve this agreement, to Section 4C of the agreement to reference NMSA 1978-437-1 as the authority for the board to enter into the agreement. And as Bruce noted, the 2 principal contacts in Appendix A.
Okay. Noted. Manager Swingle, there's 520 miles overall, but do we know how many miles are in Sierra County?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, that's a really good question because it doesn't go directly north-south, somewhat of a diagonal, but we're talking close to 60 miles.
Well, some of these co-op agreements we don't do much in, but I think that this is an agreement that we should be interested in because it does course through the county. And we should take a look at especially the construction visuals and the things that are done that might affect producers, livestock producers, and things that have impacts on public access. And there's a whole host of issues. So I would like to see us go forward with this and participate as a cooperating agency so that we can provide input that represents our citizens. Commissioners, do you have
I just have
questions or concerns?
One question. I'm always very leery of getting in MOUs with federal agencies.
Yes.
I've just been involved in some in the past and got pretty burned by them.
Yep.
Particularly when it comes to, when these final EAs and environmental impact statements come out, as a cooperating agency, our name is on it, whether we agree with the final results or not.
But we're often surprised.
But we're often, and so it just, I'm always leery towards it. And so my question would be is, what's the real benefits of signing on to the MOU that we couldn't do without having an MOU signed? I mean, I understand we get into some of the meetings, but if it's just meetings where we listen and are told, well, this is what we're going to do, that's my only concern.
I agree with you that we need to have meaningful input. And if there's with an EIS, an environmental impact statement, they're going to have public hearings.
Right.
And so we should be able to participate. I think we recognize that there are many decisions made, and the federal decision is to really go or no-go, but there are state permits and authorities and even county authorities. Attorney Pato can detail those, but yeah, it is only as good as the participation that we have. Thoughts?
I'd just like to
Commissioner
comment, I've
Hopkins?
worked with Sunzia in the past, and I know they supported our fairs, supported our youth, so I'm in total support of it.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, just so you know, as a new commissioner, the county's policy at this point that the commission has established has been supportive of Sunzia.
Good.
We've passed resolutions of support in the past. And any dialogue that we've had with any individuals or organizations since the county took that position have been in the affirmative support for Sunzia.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, Commissioner Hopkins, MOUs between us and the Bureau of Land Management regarding the project.
Okay.
So it's, it's not so much an agreement with Sunzia.
It's more BLM.
It's more with BLM. And again, we can continue to, and I hope we plan to continue to support the Sunzia project.
Absolutely.
But again, I just want to clarify that that's an understanding between us and the BLM.
Thank you.
Any more questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, so if you take this to vote, if you do vote in the affirmative, we still need to identify who the two individuals will be to serve.
Understand. Is there interest from either Vice Chair Day or Commissioner Hopkins to be on this?
So,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I think it'd be good to have you two on there. And I say that just because I sit on the BLM Resource Advisory Council for the Las Cruces District Office, or now it's the Southern RAC. And so I could see it from that end.
Okay.
And so if we approve this, I think it'd be good to have the two of you on the board.
I'm willing.
Again, sorry, Mr. Chair, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just think if we're going to sign on to this, we need to make sure that we have pretty staunch, involvement and say in the final decision.
No, I agree.
I would just hate for us to get burned, especially considering this commission has come out very supportive of the project, and say the EA and EIS come out and it's not good for the project. It just, and our name's on it, it looks kind of contradictory. But those are my concerns with any federal MOU.
Attorney Pato, do you have any thoughts to share?
Mr. Chairman, I do not.
Okay. Is there a motion to go forward with the agreement?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hopkins moves to approve the agreement.
With Hopkins and Paxson as the representatives?
Yes, sir.
So amended? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. A roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. I share Vice Chair Day's concerns with the federal government, having been a recovering bureaucrat. But I also think that we need to take opportunities to represent our citizens and state our case vocally, and if it's not done in the decision, then we would go public with our own concerns and comments. So hopefully that will allay any reservations that you have, Vice Chair Day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sunzia Southwest Transmission Project Memorandum of Understanding, Manager Swingle.
We just covered that,
covered
Mr.
it.
Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. Got it. No. Memorandum of Understanding, correct. Thank you. Amendment to Local Government Road Fund Cooperative Agreement, Manager Swingle.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this and the following agreement are for road projects, two of the three road projects that we receive funding from the state on. This first one is for $163,272. The commission has already approved that request. However, we submitted a hardship waiver request asking for forgiveness on our contribution, which was $40,818. This agreement, if commission approves it, will be executed with the state and we'll receive a waiver.
Commissioner Day moves to approve the amendment.
Second.
Moved and seconded. A roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. And the second one, Manager Swingle.
The second one is a project that's $168,731, and we're asking for a waiver of our match, which is $42,183.
Commissioner Day moves to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. A roll call, Shelley.
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. We'll go to resolutions, ordinances, and proclamations. Number A is Resolution 109043, establish depositories.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is an annual requirement we do, particularly when we have new elected officials. We have new commissioner and new treasurer. This establishes the depositories, and basically it resolves that any and all investments of Sierra County assets shall be recommended by the county treasurer and be approved by the Board of County Commissioners when they sit as a Board of Finance. And the funds will go to Citizens Bank, First Savings Bank, in the state, New Mexico State Treasurer's Office, in conformance with state statutes.
One question, Manager Swingle. Is there a reason that the other two commissioners are not on First Savings Bank to be signatories?
I do not know that, sir. I do not know the answer. I think this came from the treasurer's office.
Mr. Chairman, ordinarily, it is just the chairman that's the signatory.
Well, the signatories on county checks, on authorized transactions, and on first, are all three of the commissioners, and on First Savings Bank, it's only
Oh, I
Vice
see.
Chair Day.
I gotcha.
I don't understand.
So on that, on the LGIP, Commissioner Hopkins and Chair Paxson are on it, and I'm the only one on the First Savings. So I'm not on the LGIP, but
Okay.
I'm on the First Savings.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I can't speak to why it was prepared that way. Mr. Chairman, you could always table it and request the treasurer be here at the next county commission meeting to discuss with you why she's posed that.
Well, there may come a time when Vice Chair Day is not available to sign a check,
Absolutely.
and then we don't have a signatory. That's my only concern.
Mr. Chairman, are you on the investments, or
Yeah,
are you on?
I think we're looking at the next resolution.
The next
Yes,
resolution.
Yeah, I think we're getting ahead. So I'll approve the resolution 109-043.
Well, that's my mistake. I apologize. So 109043, been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. So now we're to 109044.
That's the one.
Yeah, the question remains. There should be at least two, and I don't care which two it is, but it seems that that's short-sighted to just have one commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we can amend the list as the commission deems necessary.
Absolutely.
I just think it should be one other commissioner, and it really doesn't matter who, so that we have an alternative if one is not available.
Well, Mr. Chair, I think the reasoning for it is you just need two signatures on the checks, and so even if I was unavailable, you still have the treasurer and then the chief deputy treasurer for signatories. But I'm fine with adding every commissioner to every single one of the signatory authority accounts. I just think that's my thinking is that's the reason. You just need two checks or two signatures on it, whether that's a commissioner or someone from the treasurer's office.
But if that's the case, then why are the rest of us added on the other ones, is my question.
Well, Mr. Chair, on this authorized signatory county checks, we signed a lot of checks.
Yeah.
And so most of the time, if I'm out of
Okay.
town, then she can call one of the other ones. That's where we see the majority of the signatures needed, is in that first one.
Mr. Chairman, Christie just shared, and I think it makes perfect sense. It's for separation of duties for the checks. So you have someone out of the treasurer's office, also someone from the county commission. But yes, we can add on maybe the vice chair. I might pose as no offense, Commissioner Hopkins, but if the board is inclined to add an additional name, have the vice chair as part of those duties as serving as vice chair, that you're also an additional signatory on the checks.
Yeah, I just think it avoids any suspicion and any.
For sure.
as long as the commissioner is signing those checks. So would we offer a friendly amendment, or there isn't a motion? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to amend the resolution to include Chairman Paxson as a signatory authority on the First Savings Bank account.
I second.
Moved and seconded. A roll call, Shelley.
Go ahead.
I apologize for interrupting, but prior to, I used to have to get the signatures from you all, and used to be the chair, and then the
Vice
then
Chair.
the vice chair, and then the commissioner. But at one point in time, there was all three of you guys gone. Not all you guys, then we get the treasurers to sign them twice. So it's just my input on that.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think we should avoid that where possible. So we have a motion with an amendment to add Chairman Paxson to the list. Was there a second on that?
Yes, sir.
There is a motion and a second. A roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes with the addition of one signatory.
Mr.
On
Chairman,
First Savings
Commissioners,
Bank.
just for my clarification, it is just for the First Savings Bank.
Correct.
Just adding the.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Resolution 109-045, authorizing and approving submission of a completed application for financial assistance and project approval to the New Mexico Finance Authority for the Colonias Infrastructure Fund.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This resolution is to accompany an application that we'll be submitting for Divide Wells Road for the planning and design of the road. We have submitted a notice of intent for the Colonias funding. It's $325,000. They require a 10% match on behalf of the county. So we're looking at legislative avenues right now to shore up that gap of our contribution. But the resolution is a requirement with the application. The process will open up in March, and we'll have the resolution already. We'll get the application in and move forward with this project.
Mr. Chairman, and this is just for if we get funded for just the design, correct?
Correct.
This planning and design.
Perfect. Thanks, sir.
Phase 1, Phase 2 will be the actual construction, and we'll start soliciting funding once we get engaged in Phase 1.
Perfect. And Mr. I know this is a project that's been talked about since I've been on the commission, so it's good that it's moving forward. Hopefully we're successful in receiving the funding. So Commissioner Day moves to approve the resolution 109-045 as presented.
A second.
Moved and seconded. A roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. Resolution 109-046, appointment of board and committee members. Manager Swingle.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, before the meeting, I said at your seat a list of the boards and committees that the commissioners are on. We have the vacancy, and Commissioner Hopkins filled that vacancy in the commission, so it's time to look at the boards and commissions that you're on and see how you want to divvy out the responsibilities. Right now, the only vacant entity that doesn't have a representative is Sierra County Recreation and Tourism Board.
Commissioner Hopkins, you've got this list.
Yes, sir.
Are there any of these boards and commissions that Vice Chair Day or I are on that you are particularly interested in?
No, I'm good with how it looks, and if you want me to take on the Sierra County Recreation and Tourism Board, I'll be more than happy to.
Well, that's getting off pretty easy.
That's what I thought.
So maybe I'll go to Vice Chair Day and see if there's...
Well, I was just going to say, I just want only the Recreation Tourism Board, but...
Are there any of those committees that you're not able to commit full participation to?
So on some of those, the one that I'm pretty close to is Arizona New Mexico Coalition of Counties. I serve as vice chair of that board.
Yes.
But if anyone was interested in any of the other ones, to be honest with you, Mr. Chair, some of the coalition, or the National Forest Counties and Schools Coalition, the Jaguar and Wolf Reintroduction Oversight Committee, and the Workers Investment Act Committee, there hasn't been any meetings that I was aware of. So those are pretty inactive boards. But I mean, they could be one day. My workload's pretty fine. If someone wanted to take on the minimum pool JPC, I'd be okay with that. That's been, with the drought and everything, that's been kind of a stalled effort at this point. But if someone else is interested in wanting to pick that up, I'd be fine with that.
Would you be interested in establishing a minimum pool for Elephant Butte and participating in that?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Is there any, Mr. Chair, that you want off of? 'Cause you get along with this.
well, I
This
think
sounds like
that.
a dumping ground to me.
Welcome to the commission.
Welcome to the commission. I thought you were going to get off that. Well, you are, I don't know if
A
you're
newbie,
ever a
right?
former educator. You're always an educator. So, this higher education committee.
Yeah.
I think that would be an appropriate one for you to take on, Commissioner Hopkins, if you're willing.
Sure. I think we better stop there.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, with the comments you just made, is that taking you off of the committee and?
Replacing with Commissioner Hopkins, yes. And which one was it for you, Vice Chair Day?
The minimum pool JPC.
Minimum pool, okay.
So I've got the minimum pool, Sierra County Recreation Tourism Board, Sierra County Higher Education Committee, correct?
Right.
Correct.
And we have the JPC and the New Mexico counties lobbyists that all of us are.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So those two would be in your repertoire.
Okay, very good.
So we've established that. Is there a motion to approve as we've discussed?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson,
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes. Don't like Travis. Little stuff.
Motion passes. Appointment of Chair, Resolution 109047, and Vice Chair of Sierra County Commission. What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
Should I just stay on his chair?
I'm fine with it unless you want to sit over here and run meetings. It's up to you.
I'm right under the cooler here, so. So if you're interested in staying chair, I'll move to appoint Commissioner Paxson as chair.
Okay.
A second.
What about Vice Chair? You good?
I'm good staying.
Good deal.
Is that all right with you?
And I'm good as just being a commissioner.
So there's a motion for Paxson as chair and Day as vice chair, and a second.
Second.
All in favor, a roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson,
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. 109048, public notice describing procedures for requests for inspection of public records. Manager Swingle.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is one of several annual resolutions the Commissioners need to approve. There's no change in the IPRA responsibility or procedures when people file for public information request. It includes the inspection of the records, the timelines that we have to respond, as well as the fee for the types of documents that they're requesting.
Mr. Chairman, I'll note that this draft resolution, or this resolution that you're considering here today, incorporates the changes that the sheriff had proposed and that we discussed last year or 2 years ago relating to the production of electronic data. And that's reflected in the chart in section 5.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Pato.
Commissioner Day moves to approve the resolution 109-048 as presented.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. Resolution 109049, Open Meetings Act. Manager Swingle.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, again, this is an annual requirement that you approve an Open Meetings Act resolution. Basically specifies the times and locations of commission meetings, the time requirements that we must notify the public, and the means that we notify the public of our meetings. I know of no changes from the existing resolution.
Mr. Chairman, just one change, and it relates to COVID. And it just makes clear that the comments need to come in before, it memorializes that provision that the comments need to be here before 5 p.m. on the day prior to the meeting to be listed during the pendency of the COVID emergency. And this resolution also makes clear that any of the board's members can participate by means of conference telephone.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Hopkins moves to approve the Resolution 109-049 Open Meeting Act.
Second.
Moved and seconded. A roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
That motion passes. Resolution 109050, parliamentary procedures and Robert's Rules of Order. Manager Swingle.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, again, this is an annual requirement that you approve parliamentary procedures and Robert's Rules of Order resolution. The manner in which commission meetings are managed, administered, it's basically a combination of parliamentary procedures and Robert's Rules of Order.
Mr. Chairman, just to speak on this a little bit, and just truly for the benefit of Commissioner Hopkins, is that ordinarily under Robert's Rules of Order, the chairman wouldn't vote, but in light of the manner in which you're elected to represent your district, it's appropriate for you to vote. And so therefore, it modifies Robert's rules in that way. Also makes clear that the chairman has no additional authority as any other member. You're first among equals, essentially. And so as noted in there, there's just a few modifications to Robert's rules, but that's to give effect to the will of the people. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Attorney Pato. That's why we have you.
Commissioner Day moves to approve resolution 109-050.
Second.
Moved and seconded. A roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. Resolution 109-051, public participation at Sierra County Commission meetings. Manager Swingle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This resolution is basically defines public participation at commission meetings and basically behavior matters, what's acceptable behavior, speech, what is not, and it's at least restrictive as possible.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hopkins moves to approve resolution number 109-051.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. Resolution 109-052, support of legislative creation of a special hospital district pursuant to special hospital district. Manager Swingle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is a resolution that the Commission has tried to get this type of legislation in place for, this will be the second year now. Basically eliminating the governing board and the JPC as owners and having responsibilities or roles over the hospital and creating a special hospital district, which would allow for 5 individuals to be voted by district from throughout Sierra County and serve as trustees to the hospital. It's a much better fix than having 2 different boards with oversight responsibilities of the hospital. I think that we have discussed this on numerous occasions, both in commission meetings as well as in the community. And I really appreciate the fact that Representative Rebecca Dow took the opportunity and time to do a virtual meeting, town hall meeting on this topic to get more insight into it. It's something we have requested of our legislative delegation to support a bill, sponsor a bill, creating that special hospital district for Sierra Vista Hospital.
And I understood that Senator Diamond was going to pre-file legislation regarding this. Do we know if that pre-filing gives a time frame for election, if it would be a special election or in next November's election.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, I think I'd have to defer to the county attorney. I don't recall if it would be a November vote or special election.
Mr. Chairman, back to my recollection of the draft legislation, which I looked at several weeks ago now, I do not believe it specified when the election would be held. So I would suspect that'd be at the next general election, but I'd have to look at that further.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, if I remember looking at it, it just calls for the county clerk and the Board of County Commissioners to call for the election.
That's right.
It doesn't specify when or how the election's done.
Okay.
I just have one question on the resolution looking at the last now therefore be it resolved. It expresses support for legislation that Representative Dow will introduce. Should we add Senator Diamond?
Yeah, Dow cannot introduce but 5, and she's already full up. So Senator Diamond said that she would carry the legislation forward, so.
Mr. Chairman, I'll
can we
make that revision right now.
change?
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a good catch.
Thank you.
Senator Diamond.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioner Day. Will do.
And also, Mr. Chair, if we could, once we approve this, assuming that we will, could we get signed copies of this resolution? That way, when we follow the legislation through the legislative process, when we send letters or send emails or make phone calls, we have something to present to the legislators showing the county support for it. And I'm going to request that we get the same resolution that was passed at the JPC meeting to include those in emails as well.
Okay, good. Good, I agree.
So, and with this year's legislative session, it's all going to be virtual. And so I think it's going to be a lot of phone calls and email sending, both to our current legislators and then also committee chairs as we follow it through. So with that, Commissioner Day moves to approve Resolution 109-052 as amended.
I second.
Moved and seconded. A roll call, Shelley.
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. Ordinance 21-001, spin launch proposal for an economic development project. Manager Swingle.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, you passed a number of resolutions and agreements, I should say, in support of spin launch and the LEDA project. State statute requires that the Commission approve an ordinance. This was presented in a public hearing last month. We received no comments, positive or negative, concerning the ordinance. So staff's recommendation to approve this ordinance and move forward with the spin launch project.
Any comments or questions, Commissioners?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hopkins moves to approve ordinance number 21-001, the spin launch proposal for the economic development project.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Motion passes. Resolution 109-053, support of reinstatement of a state inspection program in New Mexico. Manager Swingle, do you have anything on this?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, nothing other than we were requested to provide this resolution to the Commission. I think for the obvious reasons that Mr. Richardson discussed earlier in the Commission meeting. I believe the Commissioners have always been supportive of the ranching industry, and without exception.
So, Mr. Chair, I just want to add one thing. So there was actually a study done in partnership with New Mexico State University and MERGDA, the Mineral Rio Grande Economic Development Association, that showed the profitability and the economic impact that a meat processing plant would have in the region. It's primarily Socorro County, Sierra County, Catron County. And so I think, for us economically, if this was to happen and we were to get one opened up here, it would be a big game changer for our county. And so I think we need to do anything we can to support that. And again, if we can get signed resolutions, that way we can send it off to legislators. And then get it to, if you want to send it to me, I can get it to Karen. But I think it's a start to something that could be very big for us.
I'm excited about it. I think this really needs to happen.
Yeah. Once those are signed, can we get electronic and hard copies?
Yes.
Okay.
So Commissioner Day moves to approve Resolution 109-053.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
That motion passes. I know y'all waited a long time for that. We glad that you stayed, so.
Bruce, it's getting better.
Resolution 109-054, amending the designation of the location of Election Day polling places for statewide elections conducted in 2021. Manager Swingle.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the clerk's taken the opportunity to move the voting location in Winston from the fire department to the Winston Country Church. This past election, we had some difficulties, some challenges with the facility and the fire department needing access to their equipment pretty much 24/7 and access to get their vehicles in and out of the facility. This is not the first year. It's not unique. We've had this problem in the past. And I appreciate the clerk taking the lead and finding the best resolution to the problem and moving to another location, and not defer to you with any comment.
Thank you. I've had a lot of cooperation with the community church in Winston. I think it's going to be a positive move for my poll workers and for the constituents in Winston. It has more of a handicap accessible entrance, and it has a little more room.
And it does have phone and Wi-Fi, so we're set there too. Yep. Yep. I think it's a good move.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hopkins moves to approve the resolution number 109-054.
Second.
Moved and seconded. A roll call, Shelley.
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
That resolution is passed.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Day moves to go into executive session pursuant to Section 10-15 E through H to discuss matters in regards to pending and threatened litigation, personnel, and real estate reasons as listed on the agenda.
I second.
You're getting so good on that.
I'm getting good at
You got it
it.
down.
It took me 2 years, but.
Sorry,
There's
John.
there's a motion and a second. Roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
We are in executive session. We'll come out of executive session. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Day moves to come out of executive session and certify that no action was taken and only matters as listed on the agenda were discussed.
Is there a second?
I second.
Moved and seconded. A roll call, Shelley?
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
If we have no other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We are adjourned.